form of Morse and Forster in San Francisco. And while there, she devoted a quarter of his time to pro bono work on behalf of Asian clients. So it is my pleasure to give a warm welcome to Dr. Mike H.
Good afternoon. Delighted to be here with you, talking about issues of race, diversity, the changing face of our nation, some of the subjects that are most fraught, most tense in the changing era of ours. I hope to provoke you to think for yourselves, not persuade you to think as I do, to think about these issues with a new perspective, one that you haven't heard before. I'll be talking to you today about the modern minority gift. Even if you haven't heard that term before, I'm confident that you know the stereotype. That's what it is. It's an image, one of the predominant images of people of Asian descent, East and South, here in the U.S. It's the image that we're all visited rocket scientists, child prodigies, right? It's the idea that I must have graduated from high school when I was 10, from college by the time I was 12, with perfect SAT scores, and so on. It's the idea that I learned to play the violin at an early age before I even started kindergarten, and then the piano. By the time I was a youngster, I was playing the violin at Carnegie Hall, or the piano, but they just played the violin and piano simultaneously, right? It's the notion like the calculus in my head. It's this idea that our parents arrived here penniless strangers from another shore, that if we got an A- on a report card, we were beaten. It's the diligent, pump by your own bootstraps myth with Confucian twists, right, with a slightly different look to it. And what I'd like to do is debunk this model minority myth, explain why, like every racial stereotype, it's dangerous, even though on the surface it seems positive. After all, we don't want to just be politically correct or hypersensitive. If someone says, you're smart, you're hardworking, how can we possibly object? People sometimes say that to me. What's wrong with you? We're trying to pay you a compliment. So, being a lawyer and a law professor, whenever I talk, I have a caveat, disclaimer. So my caveat and my disclaimer is this. There's nothing wrong with being smart and hardworking. We should applaud that. We should encourage it. It's wonderful to see people invest in higher education, to take seriously that they can improve their lives, to be dedicated, disciplined. All of that is commendable. And I don't want anyone to think that for a moment I'm take anything away from my parents or your parents or grandparents, those who achieved phenomenal success. I look to them with so much respect. I literally would not be here if my parents hadn't come here to the U.S. and met here. And then I wouldn't have done any of the things that you've heard from my background if they hadn't set high standards and encouragement. So I want to be clear. To be smart, to be hardworking, those are commendable traits. That's what we should encourage everyone to aspire to. My concern is different. My concern is when Asian Americans are portrayed as somehow racially smart and hardworking, as if they have an oriental secret, as if it's something that's unique to them genetically or culturally. That's what worries me. And I'd like to take some time to explain to you why this is so troubling, concerning, how it shows that we've fallen short of the promise that we made to each other here in the New World. In diverse democracy, experiment in self-governance, that we will break free from these racial stereotypes. We'll allow people to write the scripts of their own lives, to chart their own destinies. And also being a law professor, I always usually make 3 points. So I'm going to make 3 points. The first is that the model minority myth is inaccurate on its own terms. It's misleading. Second, that it leads to resentment and prejudice, discrimination, backlash. And third, finally, that's a form of false flattery. It's not really actually about Asian Americans at all. I'd like to suggest it's a none-to-some way of sending insults to other people of color. Let me start first, though, with the point that this is a factual matter. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your politics are. But the model minority myth has added a misleading falsehood. And the misleading falsehood is it fails to take into account that Asian Americans, being predominantly foreign-born, are like others who are foreign-born. That is, they're brain drained. They're cream with the crop. It's no surprise that people coming from Asia are so successful and that their U.S.-born descendants are, because they represent the individuals who have changed the most in their home countries before they migrate. They had human capital or actual capital. And that is to say that my parents came here to go to graduate school, on scholarships. That's true probably of any of their parents, grandparents, maybe even some of this group. It means that the individuals coming here, they're not represented. And to be able to migrate from Asia is not easy. It requires many people to migrate within Asia, from the distant provinces to a cultural big city. And then they have that opportunity to obtain a coveted green card, often by showing their superior skills. So the model minority myth is based on a skewed sample. And many of you here have STEM backgrounds. You're familiar with how to think about these issues. So statistically, the people who are our ancestors, most of us who are Asian American, are not like the people they left behind. They tend to have had high levels of education, high levels of wealth, greater access to the chance to cross into and to make a new home here. So because Asian Americans represent brain drain, by the way, you're starting from a beginning point where the comparison is inapt. If you look at people who are foreign-born from all ethnic backgrounds and compare them to people who are native-born of the same ethnic background, there tend to be marked differences. In fact, ironically, some of the studies suggest that Asian Americans, families that have been here multiple generations, will regress to the norm, as if they look more and more American by the time they reach third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation, in everything from how much schooling they have to even rates of heart disease and so on. If you live here long enough, if your family's here long enough, you do get bigger. That is, we are taller than our cousins overseas. Probably also suffer from all the negative consequences of fast food, the diet that you usually have access to here, so high levels of hypertension, heart disease, and so on. So my first point is that the model minority is what is fact, and there's also the problem of generalizing and weight ethnicity, these artificial categories that we've created that have tragic histories that are so often used for community purposes. But even if we accept that it's okay to compare different communities against each other, the problem with this comparison, this model minority myth, is that it's based on a myth. It's based on this idea that everyone who comes here is literally penniless, nothing but the shirts on their backs. Now, even if they came with only a suitcase and very little, they came with a scholarship. They came with admission to graduate school at Stanford or wherever else. That, by itself, that opportunity shows that they have something that others don't have, including native-born Asian Americans. So that's the first point. The second, though, is that the model minority myth generates its own problems. You know, when I was a kid growing up in Detroit in the 1970s, my parents, they socialized with people like the Chinese who come to Taiwan. And my mother would often say to me, why can't you be like so-and-so's son, right? And she would compare me to some kid who I sort of knew from the dinner parties that my parents had, who had gotten an SAT score just slightly better than mine, right? And you know what would happen when my mother would compare me with some kid who was the child of a friend of hers? I went over and punched that kid in the nose. Now, that reaction, I think, is normal. It doesn't show that I was especially violent. That's what everybody wants to do when they're compared to others. Actually, a number of recent studies have come out even in an enlightened workplace setting, people are educated and civilized, they're decent, they think of themselves as scholars. In a workplace setting, the people who are recognized as overachievers tend to be undermined by coworkers. That is, and we all, to a little extent, live up to, or down to the saying of Gordon All Matthews once said, every time a friend of mine succeeds, a little part of me dies. Right? So we all have this competitive streak in us, and when people are held up, this nation that's always the underdog. We want to see people succeed who come from behind, whether that's sports or in any other context. So the model minority myth, by suggesting that Asian Americans are overachievers, right? This is what that term means. Overachieve. It means to have gotten more than your fair share, more than what others expected. To be an overachiever is to put a target on your back. Hey, this is somebody and part of the community that is disproportionately represented among the engineers, right? This is a group that we should resent because somehow they've done a little too well. Now, for Asian Americans in particular, there's a long history of this sentiment, as Ronald Takaki, the leading scholar of the subject, pointed out. Asian Americans have long been punished not for their vices, but for their virtues. So a lot of minority myth is not new. If you go back to the era of the Chinese Exclusion Act, so 1882, Congress started to regulate the borders, and the first time they had done that in a comprehensive way was to exclude people on the basis of ethnic background, specifically Chinese, and then all Asians. There was an Asiatic barred zone for a couple of generations, and people of Asia said even if they came legally, could not naturalize. There was a color bar, a bar that showed you were a free white person or of African nativity or descent. Naturalized and froze up with the body politic. If you go back and study the movement, which started in California, right in San Francisco, to keep out people of Chinese descent, you know what it was based on? The model minority myth. It was based on the claim that Chinese workers, the people who built the Transcontinental Railroad, for example, almost the entire workforce that laid the western half of the tracks consisted of Chinese men, 10 to 12,000. And the railroad barons who competed, actually back who could lay more track in a day, the Chinese coming from the west or the Irish coming from the east. You know that term Chinaman's chance, it comes from that era, because the Chinese were assigned tasks no one else wanted to do, loaded baskets and dynamite mountainsides where they might not survive. That's where that term comes from. They worked so hard that they were excluded from the ceremony when the golden spike was driven at Promontory Point, Utah, to unite and manifest destiny, this great continent of ours. Well, after the railroad was built and Chinese migrated, they went to San Francisco. There was a recession, and the Chinese were looked at and thought of as working too hard, as too successful. The main premise for the exclusion was that white working men, many of them themselves immigrants, foreigners. So this wasn't about natives versus foreigners. It was about whites versus Asians. The point that was made was that whites could not compete against Asians. Samuel Gompers, a renowned labor leader, wrote a pamphlet. So he was a union man and really progressive, liberal, renowned. Anti-Chinese. He wrote a pamphlet in the early 1900s, and when I give speeches, those views are ironic. I say this here on your campus. I give speeches, I always say to people, don't take my word, Google this, go ahead and find one, look this up. Samuel Gompers, he wrote a pamphlet back to that time, you made your points, called Meat versus Flesh. That's the actual name of this pamphlet, and it was one of the leading documents arguing for the exclusion. And his argument, he went on for pages making this argument. His argument was as follows. White working men, this was about that, have to eat meat. They can't survive without meat. Whereas the Asiatic, the Oriental, the Mongoloid, they subsist on whites. So he argued, this is unfair. White people need meat, they need lots of meat. Asian people eat whites. Whites will lose to Asians in this economic competition. That's an early version of the model minority that the Asians worked too hard. So the conclusion was, the only response is to keep out the Chinese and keep all Asians, because that's the fair way to do things, to draw this racial line. So this sort of resentment persists to this day, and the model minority myth, like all the racial stereotypes, can be turned on its head, it flips around. When these things happen, so that what looks positive one day becomes very negative the next day. What is it to be hardworking? It's to be, as Gompers portrayed it, unfair competition. What is it to be smart? It's to be a geek and to set full knowledge. It's to not be practical. What is it even to be good at math and science? It's to lack people skills. To not have soul. To not be a leader, right? People sometimes say to me, you help me fix my laptop. You're also good at that, right? Makes me want to go right over and wipe out their hard drive. Not to be perverse, but because that's a stereotype. And it's a stereotype that's extended to so many fields. Even one where Asian Americans are thought of as successful or dominant. Let's think about classical music, for example. What would Western classical music be if it weren't for Asian and Asian American audiences and performers? Right? You would have classical music at this point. And what does it say about the Asian prodigy pianist or violinist? They always say technical perfection, no soul, no character, right? So the very positive trait of playing the notes perfectly is held against you as if you're an automaton or robot. It's mechanical. You're not really a human being. You can't experience the fullness of life, right? This idea that Asian American was full of life, that we're humorless, right? We can't be different from each other. Words of that, the minority myth generates resentment. How do we do that? Well, this is a moment when we in America, both within the nation as we look at the global stage, have an acute sense of anxiety. And Asian Americans represent both the rise of the East and the decline of the West. To those who would portray an inevitable clash among people on the basis of color, skin, texture, or hair, shape of eye. That's not the way I see the world. But there are those who believe that we are headed for this battle among races. And in that, they portray Asians and Asian Americans simultaneously with respect. They're doing so well. But with resentment, they're doing too well. It's what motivates quotas in higher education and so much more. This notion of limitation, of tinkle. Right? You've heard people say when they go to a high school graduation and the valedictorian and they tell us the top 10 are named Yuen, Patel, Kim, and so on. They say, we're the real Americans. Right? How come Asians are winning the science fairs, spelling bees, getting all the scholarships, all the prizes? And so this model minority myth has that germ of truth. That's so many stereotypes do. It's just exaggerated, it's distorted, and turned into into the sense that if you're not Asian, if you're white, you shouldn't take AP calculus or science class because the Asian full sense curve. Right? You hear that here in this area in the suburbs as white families say we can't do as well, and therefore have to have preferences to favor whites, not because of any bias they might face, but because of the sense that the Asians are taking over. So that's my second point, that the model minority myth is too easily abused, and then Asian Americans too easily abused. That that even though on the surface it seems superficially positive, that working underneath is this sense of racial resentment, and that it provokes, it stokes that because of this sense built into it of racial competition. Then finally, though, the model minority myth sometimes isn't even really about Native Americans. If you go back to where it was first published in 1967 in the New York Times, in the Sunday magazine, there was a sociologist, Louis Pearson. He wrote what is called the single most influential article ever written about Native Americans. That you can still, it's not hard to Google. It's called Success for a Japanese American Style. And it's a sympathetic. defense strategy after Japan. That's all there is to it. Because they were deemed to be enemy aliens. They were simulated English-speaking, had never been to Tokyo. The men were totally elderly, disabled, fallen, and wound up. So in 1967, Peterson wrote a lavish article and all these photographs, and it was about how Japan succeeded. After the war had ended, camp closed, how they had become compliant, and they were successful. They were outcompeting flex. So if you look at their income levels and so on, by effective measure, you might say, wow, this is an ethnic group that